see? Here we are, that was 1981. So 81, 2000 is 20 years, 32 years ago. You know, and here I can reproduce that. So.
And for the I'm sorry, for the 5-iron. See, I saw you make a divot. But see, when I hit my 5, I'm trying to compress it with the ground. I make the divot, but I feel like somehow I'm hitting too much ground for it to go the distance. Because I'm probably only hitting it 190. Well, not only, but it's 195. And
your 5-iron?
Yeah.
Yeah, I usually hit my lob wedge 195. No, I hit my 5-iron 180. Full. And I rarely hit it that. If I have a 180 shot, I'll hit a 3/4 to 4.
Yeah. And then you switch into that technique of going back slow, because I know a lot of players that do that, that go back really slow on their backswing.
Well,
then I see you turn fast.
Yeah, ever since I've been using this sledgehammer swing, and I got to give Jim McLean credit for labeling it, because he calls it the sledgehammer, because kids use it because they pick up a club, it's so heavy, they go like this, slow like that, and then they come over it,
Yeah.
So, but that's just a label that he labeled it with. But this swing I was using when back in the 80s, so it's not not his swing, it's just his label. But I always like to give people credit where credit is due. So, but I had figured out this sledgehammer swing, and everybody notices that. When I'm down there hitting balls, man, you got nice tempo,
Yeah,
because I'm thinking sledgehammer, and if this was a sledgehammer, you couldn't just pick it up. So everybody's trying to pick the club up on plane, like it was light as a feather, so it goes up a V1 plane line. Well, then you have to kind of cock your wrist and pick the club up to do that. Well, if you look at Hogan and Snead, they don't do that. They take it in like this, see? So if this was a sledgehammer, it would be too heavy to just use your hands and arms to pick it up. You have to use your shoulders and your trunk to move it back. And it would go back in and a little bit under the plane like that. When it got to here, you could lift it up a little bit and then come over it and bam, down on it, see? So I'm giving all the energies at the bottom of my swing. And when I do it right, it's like, And the other thing is that because it's worked before in the past, and because I'm coming over the ball, I have less club head rotation, see? Like I got sick and tired of dropping to the inside, hitting these thin shots out to the right. So now it feels like I'm not even rolling my hands over. The club face is open, and my arms are staying into my body, coming through, and my shoulders going down. So it's easier to hit down with less club face rotation, and my arms aren't flying off my chest coming through. So it's more consistent that way.
It's a simpler swing. Less variables in the swing.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And if I want to draw it or hook it, I can. But here it is. Goes back slow, goes back in, goes back.
See, do you call him for your, I know
it's how good that shot is?
Yeah.
It's landing right on the flag.
Yeah, you're straight on every time.
It's going straight.
Just a tiny little fade, yeah. And see, that's the shot I was playing at Marion. That's the Arnold Palmer shot. Or I was hitting 1-iron off the tee, I hit it down the left side and let it fade back into the middle of the fairway. And the people in the stands, they'd have to so hit it right over their heads because the fairways were so narrow.
How do you hit a fade?
You put a little clockwise spin on it. Clockwise spin will make the ball curve right. Counterclockwise spin will make it curve left. Backspin makes it pure backspin to make it go straight. More backspin, the higher it would go. So you have to be able to feel that club face angle. So when I come over it, I got to hold the club face open. This is the control hand. This is the power hand. So with my left hand, I don't do that. I hold the face open, see? And then the path has to be across the ball slightly, all right, to put the clockwise spin. So when I come over it, when I go under the plane and then go over just a little bit like Hale Irwin does or Craig Stadler, Bruce Litsky, Calvin Pete, he led the tour in driving accuracy. You look at his swing on YouTube, because you can see all these great players' swings on YouTube. Just turn off the volume because what people talk about is so confusing. Okay, just observe. That's what this is supposed to be, but I always talk too much. But this is good. I'm getting some good questions. So I come over it, and I just cut across it just enough to put enough side spin on it with that open face. And then why it worked so well before is that the more I cut across the ball, the more I held the face open, so I would just, it was like a good miss. It was always a good miss. See, golf is a game of misses. You know, if your misses are fairly long and fairly straight, you can score. It's the wild shots, the big hooks or the big slices, the pop-ups, the tops, that you lose strokes. See? So if you got a swing that your good shots are really good and your misses are still good, under pressure when it counts, then you can chip and putt, come out of the sand, hit pitch shots, and shoot in the 60s every time. And if you can shoot the 60s every time, you're going to get some really nice paychecks and some really nice big trophies. You know, and you're going to get your name in the newspapers and on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter, all that kind of stuff.
How do you
if you
start
play
out?
to shoot in the 60s, all your money problems would be over if you're a pro. Okay.
So what I was gonna ask, like the 3, 4, and 5 irons, and then you get to the 6, 7, 8, 9, and there's more angle on it.
Right.
And then you're hitting your 9 approach, it's like a pitching wedge, but just more like there's more club head on it. Is that why it goes farther, or is it a different angle?
Yeah.
But,
It's simple. If this is a 5 and this is a 7, you know, it's just got more. 7's got more loft than a 5. You know,
So
if this has got 27 degrees, this one's got 30. It's got 8 degrees more loft. The 7 from the 5, so 31, 30, 35. 27 to 35, and then the shaft's an inch longer. So the loft is the biggest factor in distance. All right. Then the longer the shaft gets, the bigger the arc. That's going to add a club head speed. So in theory, the longest shaft with the least amount of loft you can use, you'll hit the ball the furthest. Okay. That's why those long drivers, you know, before they put a limit on lengths of shafts, they had these really 50-inch drive, 55 inch. I mean, just ridiculous. Because it gives you a bigger arc, you pick up more speed if you can hit them.
Yeah.
If you can hit them. You know, I won the Chicago Open with a 47-inch driver, small-headed 47-inch driver. So I could swing a longer shaft. These clubs are an inch over standard. You know, my 5 iron's 38.5 inches long.
But is your swing the same though between both? Is your swing the same between both clubs?
Yeah, you can only have one swing.
You don't like come down on it more to get.
Well, you do. You know, here's the difference is that if you've got a driver. Okay. And you know, here's a 90-degree angle. Right there. Okay, now I'm going to hit this driver. I'm going to put the ball off my left heel, and I'm going to widen my stance so it's wider than my shoulders. That moves my center of gravity back. Okay, my head's right between my feet, but the ball's up here. And because I've got a 46-inch shaft, I've got to stand further from the ball. So when I go to make this sledgehammer move, okay, the club is going to come in on a shallower plane, but I'm thinking and feeling the same swing, okay? But here's a 5, okay? Since it's 38.5 inches long, look how much shorter it is. So I got to stand that much closer to the ball, and I narrow my stance up so the ball's about halfway between my center of my stance and my left heel, which puts me more on top of the ball, and I'm standing closer. So with that same sledgehammer swing, I'm going to hit more down on this ball.
Yeah.
Because of the ball position and the width of stance. And then here's the 9-iron. See how much shorter it is than the 5. Stand closer, narrow it up. Now the ball's right between my feet. And my head's right on top of the ball. So now I can, with that same swing, hit down and take a bigger divot because I'm standing closer with a shorter shaft. But I'm thinking the same swing. But then you have to understand, here's another big difference between good players and everybody else, that the driver, because this has got 9.5 degrees loft on it, and this 9-iron's got it's got 44 degrees loft on it. This is going to put more backspin. It's harder to fade or slice or draw or hook a 9-iron. And this driver, you can slice and hook it the heck out of it because it puts more side spin on it than backspin. See?
Yeah.
That's why the other players, the guys with the high handicaps, they pull their wedges and 9-irons straight. They don't slice or hook them. They just get pulled straight. But they make that same swing of the driver, and they hit a big slice. You know, it's because the 9-iron with more loft puts more backspin. See? So good players would know that. They know that if they do want to hit this fade with this 9-iron. But I have to be more across the ball with this 9-iron.
Yeah, I saw it.
To make it, put the same amount of left or right spin on it than I do with a 5-iron. So understanding spin and understanding equipment and putting those two together so that you're accommodating your equipment instead of fighting your equipment. You know, and then using a functional swing. Functional meaning that when you want to hit a draw, you can. When you want to hit a fade, you can. When you want to add distance to the shot, you can. When you want to take distance off the shot, you can. When a functional swing is one that hits the sweet spot, not the toe or the heel, or the bottom or the top of the club, you know, then you can shoot in the 60s every time, or even in the 50s. Furyk, you know, he called me up and he says, "Bob, what do you think I'm doing wrong with my swing?" I said, "Jim, you shot 59. I says, what's wrong with 58? I said, "You got to try harder, son." So he's a perfect example of trying to find a perfect swing is a fruitless, you know, endeavor. Yeah. So, you know, Furyk's got his hands down here between his legs at address. He grips it, not Varden. He's got two fingers over like this, okay? He's got his hands between his legs. He takes it straight up like this, and then he drops it way to the inside, and then he super turns through the ball like this. His elbow's way behind his hip, and then he holds the face open coming through like this.
It's a complicated swing.
Not really. You know, because he lays it off, and then he turns through, and he's not doing any of this stuff.
Yeah.
See? And then he's just a fierce competitor, you know. I mean, I was playing a practice round at the Buick Open one year, and I had kid Dominic Vitale caddying for me, and Dominic is fearless, okay? He went up to Furyk and asked if we could play a practice round with him. And Furyk looked at us and he went, "No, sorry." He wasn't going to play with a club pro because he knew that might take him down a notch, okay? But Dominic was fearless. He went over to Justin Rose and Zach Johnson, and he says, "Do you mind if we play with you guys?" And they said, "No, we don't care." So I got to play with Justin Rose and Zach Johnson at the Buick Open in the practice round. You know, and this brings up another point I was thinking about. The difference between good players and everybody else is that they're so talented. You know, they're just so talented. I played a practice round with Hale Irwin at the Western Open one year, and just walking next to him down the fairway, I'm looking at him. You know, this guy's just gliding down the fairway the way he walks. He's a gifted athlete. I got video of me playing a practice round with John Daly at the PGA in 1994. Both of us are hitting practice and bunker shots next to the green. And I'm hitting, you know, I almost hole it, okay? He holed it. But when you look at the two strokes, you can tell he's just a little bit smoother and a little bit better timing and, you know, than me. And, you know, I was registering for the Quad Cities Open one year, the year I played a tour, waiting in line like this, and this guy comes up next to me, kind of, you know, looks like he's trying to cut in line, and I look up and, you know, just, you know, God, that guy's just an impressive looking specimen, you know, of the human species, Homo sapiens. He's Payne Stewart, you know, and Justin Rose, you know, on TV, he looks like a skinny nothing. He looks like you, just a skinny young kid.